Why do some people read your message instantly, then vanish into silence for hours or even days before finally replying? This isn't about disrespect. It's not about you being unimportant. What you're witnessing is actually a profound defense mechanism, a carefully constructed wall between their inner chaos and the outside world. The person who delays their reply isn't ignoring you. They're protecting something far more fragile than you realize. Today, we're going to explore the existential weight behind delayed responses. We'll uncover why certain people cannot bring themselves to answer immediately, what this reveals about the void they're trying to fill, and how this behavior is less about communication and more about survival in a world that demands constant presence. Let's start with the first psychological truth. People who intentionally delay replies are often trapped in what I call response paralysis. When they see your message, their brain doesn't process it as simple information. It processes it as a demand for energy they don't have, a demand for a version of themselves they can't currently access. Imagine this exact scenario. It's 11:47 p.m. They're lying in bed, phone screen illuminating their face in the darkness. Your message appears. They read it, their thumb hovers over the keyboard, but then nothing. They lock the phone, place it face down on the nightstand. They'll reply tomorrow, they tell themselves, except tomorrow becomes 3 days later. Why? Because in that moment, the act of responding felt like lifting a mountain. Not because your message was difficult, but because they were already carrying the weight of 17 unanswered conversations, 4 unfinished tasks, and the crushing sensation that any response they give won't be good enough. The second truth is about control. In a world where everything feels unpredictable and overwhelming, the delayed response becomes a small island of power. Think about it. When you delay a reply, you control the tempo of the relationship. You decide when the conversation continues. You create distance when closeness feels suffocating. This isn't manipulation in the malicious sense. It's a desperate attempt to feel autonomous in a life that often feels like it's running on everyone else's schedule. For these people, immediate responses feel like surrender, like admitting they're always available, always waiting, always ready to serve others' needs before their own. The delay is their way of saying, I exist on my own terms, not yours, even if those terms are born from fear rather than confidence. The third truth is perhaps the most misunderstood. Delayed replies are often rooted in what psychologists call perfectionism paralysis. These individuals don't just want to reply, they want to craft the perfect reply, the witty one, the thoughtful one, the one that makes them appear intelligent, interesting, emotionally available, but not desperate. So they wait. They draft responses in their head. They rehearse different tones. They imagine how you'll react. And in that gap between intention and action, hours disappear. Because the pressure to be perfect is so intense that doing nothing feels safer than risking imperfection. You see them online, you see them posting stories, liking other content, but your message sits unanswered, not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters too much. The more they care about how they're perceived by you, the longer the delay becomes. Now let me take you deeper, because this behavior doesn't emerge from nowhere. It's sculpted by years of conditioning, trauma, and a fundamental misunderstanding of what human connection actually requires. People who delay replies on purpose often grew up in environments where their emotional expression was either ignored, criticized, or punished. Maybe they had a parent who responded to vulnerability with dismissal. Maybe they learned early that showing up authentically meant being rejected. So they developed a strategy, calculated distance. They learned that the less they gave in the moment, the less they could be hurt. The delay became armor. Every hour they wait before responding is another layer of protection between their real self and potential judgment. There's also an evolutionary component here that most people miss. Our brains weren't designed for the constant connectivity of modern life. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans communicated face-to-face in real time with clear social cues. But now, we're expected to maintain digital relationships with dozens of people simultaneously, while also managing our own inner worlds. The person who delays replies might be operating from a primitive part of their brain that's simply overwhelmed by the unnatural demand for constant social performance. Their delay is a form of retreat, a return to a more natural rhythm where responses happen when they're ready, not when the notification demands it. And here's something that people with high emotional intelligence often experience but rarely talk about: the weight of other people's expectations. If you're someone who deeply feels the emotional undertones in every message, who can sense when someone needs reassurance, advice, or just presence, then responding becomes exhausting. Because you're not just replying to words, you're managing the invisible emotional labor behind them. You're trying to say the right thing, be the right amount of supportive, avoid triggering their insecurities. So you delay. Not because you don't care, but because you care so intensely that the act of responding requires full emotional capacity, and some days that capacity simply doesn't exist. This is the paradox. The people who delay replies are often the ones who feel connection most deeply. They're not cold or indifferent. They're drowning in the weight of their own sensitivity, trying to protect both themselves and you from the messy reality of their current emotional state. So what do you do with this understanding? First, recognize that delayed replies are rarely about you. They're about the other person's relationship with themselves, with time, with the exhausting performance of being human in the digital age. If someone consistently delays their replies to you, it doesn't mean you're unimportant. It might mean they're struggling with something they haven't found the words to explain yet. Second, consider your own patterns. Do you delay replies? If so, ask yourself what you're protecting. Is it control? Is it perfectionism? Is it the fear of intimacy that comes with immediate availability? There's no judgment in the answer, but there is freedom in awareness. Third, create space for imperfect communication. Tell the people in your life that you don't need perfect replies. You don't need wit or wisdom. You just need honesty. Even if that honesty is, "I'm overwhelmed right now. I'll respond when I can." Permission to be human removes the pressure that creates the delay in the first place. Here's what I want you to sit with. Maybe the delayed response isn't a glitch in communication. Maybe it's a symptom of a world that's forgotten how to move at human speed. We've built a society that demands instant everything, instant responses, instant productivity, instant emotional availability. But humans aren't instant. We're slow, complicated, contradictory creatures who need time to process, to feel, to become ready. The person who delays a reply isn't broken. They're just refusing to pretend they're a machine. And perhaps, in that refusal, there's something worth honoring, something that reminds us all that real connection can't be rushed, commodified, or reduced to read receipts and typing indicators. It happens in its own time. Or it doesn't happen at all.